Okay, so we're reviewing how to build a white model from Vectorworks. I recommend that you build your white models in 1/4" scale. The first step is, of course, open your file. I did not re-download the file, so I'm just going to open one of my old shows, which means there's going to be scenery in my file. There won't be in yours. Make sense? Easy peasy. Okay. Okay. Our first thing we have to triple check when before we print out our model is our page setup. When I built the models that you guys are going to look at a little later today, I realized that I can print 11" by 17" paper, which makes it a little easier for me because that's the size of 2 sheets of paper, so I could do it with less pieces of paper. If you don't have that ability on your printer, and does anyone have the ability to print something other than 8.5 by 11? Seeing none, I'm not going to go into super detail on how to do that. But we're going to go printer setup. We're going to make sure that this says 100%, and you're going to make sure that your paper size is the paper size that your printer can print. In this case, most printers can print US letter. That's 8.5 by 11. And you can figure out which is more convenient for you, whether you want a profile or a portrait printer page. In other words, do you want the piece of paper tall and skinny, or do you want it long and short? Yeah. Hot dog or hamburger. There we go. Okay. Click OK. This is going to show you, again, 8.5 by 11. So my computer knows that my printer can print 8 inches, not 8.5, and it can print 10.67, not 11. Your computer should know that based on your printer, and you don't have to worry about it. Just make sure those numbers are vaguely the size paper you're sticking in. And if they're vaguely right, they're right. Click OK. Okay. I'm going to very quickly turn the set off on this so it looks, oh look, that looks more like what you're expecting. And turn off any layers or classes you don't want to see. Okay. For example, the legs and borders are drawn on here. That's the masking. If you don't want to see that while you're working, then turn them off. Okay. You're allowed to do that. Okay. I like to keep them on because they give me a vague idea of where things are on stage. But again, you're not required to. Okay. I've got that done. Now I need to get to my Move Page tool, and that's right under the Pan tool. Okay. And the box, you guys can see the box. I'm moving the box around. That is my piece of paper. That is what I can print. Okay. And what's a really good idea is you want to print this out, and you're going to have, as you can look at with 8.5 by 11, it's going to take me 4 pieces of paper to print the whole stage, right? You guys can see that. When you print this, yes?
How do you get that box?
You get that box so what it should look like is your Pan tool. Click and hold, so you get the Move Page option, which is under your Pan tool. Okay? And then when you click and drag, you get the box. Okay? Clicking and dragging, you know what? I also don't need my electrics. I'm going to turn the electrics off. Bye-bye. Okay. Click and drag, and here's my first box. And once I have the box exactly where I want it, I'm going to do File, and Print. And if I'm hooked up to a printer, I just have to hit Print. Okay. This little thing here is an error message saying I can't find the printer. Well, duh, it's in my office. Not going to do me any good. And if I switch to my other printer, it thinks it can find it. That's very cute. It can't because it's, in another building. So sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. If you are doing this in the Idea Lab, you can print 5 pages a day. No problem. So I would hit Print, which I'm not going to do at the moment because I don't, otherwise when I get home it might start printing pages out. So click Print and it will come out of your printer. Next step to do your next ground plan is to move this. I like to make sure that I've got some overlap because I'm going to have to piece these things together, right? And so if I have a little bit of overlap on the pieces of paper, I can get everything lined up just right and tape it together. Okay, when you guys look at the model boxes I quickly built this morning, you're going to see how I just overlapped and taped stuff together. Get this lined up and print. and then this lined up and print, and this lined up and print, and with 4 pieces of 8.5 by 11, I can get the front done, or the top view done. Make sense? The next one that it's really important that you do, we can get away without doing the sides and back if you really want to, although I think life is easier if you do the sides and the back. You can get away without doing them, but you will need to do the front. To do the front, we have to go to View, Standard Views, Front. And remember that this is going to display in wireframe, which means we can see everything. It makes the set looks like it makes everything look like it's built out of coat hangers. Something's wrong here. Well, I'm going to try something. No, maybe it's not. It just looks funny. It does look funny, and what we want to do is we want to fix that. So we want to have it look solid. So we're going to go to View, Rendering, Hidden Line. If you're on a Mac, it's Shift-Apple-E. That's a command I use all the frickin' time. There it is. Okay. So what we need is the front of the theater. So all this stuff, which is the walls in the back, we don't really need that to do the front of the theater. We just need the front of the theater. I'm still concerned why some of this looks odd, but no, I guess it's right. Okay, so once again, we go grab our magic box so we can print, and we go, oh, look, this isn't going to work so well. Well, actually, it's not going to work too badly because do I need all of the stuff up here? That's solid wall. It's part of the proscenium arch. As long as I have the opening, I'm good. So I can do this in 1, 2 pieces of paper. Okay? So you would obviously get this set up, print, set up, print. If you need to set all this stuff at home but print it here, I recommend using your export to PDF feature. And I'll show you that that's really simple. So File, Export. You got to get your print window set up correctly. Export to PDF. Click on your PDF and say, okay, yeah, let's export. And it's going to come up and it's going to say, save this as a file. It's going to save it as a printer file that you can print out from any computer. Okay? Just make sure to name it because it defaults to naming it the same thing as your file name. And since it's going to be multiple pages to get this all out, you'll just be overwriting and overwriting and overwriting, and you'll get to wherever you're going, and you'll have one file with not enough stuff in it. So, but hopefully you can just print this out wherever you are. Okay? If you want to do the side views, same thing. We're going to go to View, Standard Views, and instead of saying Front, because that's the front of the theater, we can do Left. And do we want to re-render? Yes, we want it to be solid. And I'm going to take it a moment to render. And look, here's the left side of the theater. Want to do the back of the theater? Not very exciting, but we can. By the way, there's also a drop-down menu for your views over here. But sometimes that gets hidden, so I'm trying to show you guys the way. So standard views, back, render. Oh, look at how boring that is. And so we did left, and so we need to do right. And render. And that's our last view. One of the challenges with doing this is, if you're trying to do something this full height of the proscenium of the backstage of the theater, which you are not required to do, is it's really hard to get things lined up because there's nothing in common between the images. Okay? But you can just, if you just do the front and maybe just take a little measurement with your tape measure off the front and do your sides at the same height as your proscenium arch, you're in good shape. Okay. Questions on how to do the printouts? No? And I'm going to quickly check and make sure.